I recently talked to a guy in the gym that I've known since I was a little kid. And he used to be very insecure. He was always a clown, and he's the kind of guy that doesn't really have a personality because he changes the way he acts to be liked by other people. Now, when he walked into the gym, I was surprised because he was huge. He built an insane amount of muscle. But the thing is, when I talked to him, I could see that he didn't change at all. I could still see that scared little boy inside of him. I could see it in his eyes, his tone of voice, his body language. And when I was done talking to him, I was thinking about a quote from Peter Crone, which is, if you don't look at what's going on in the subconscious, you will become the best version of your limited self. And this also brings up the question as in, how do you change? How do you reinvent yourself? And that's what I will go into in this video, and I will highlight both aspects, the internal part of transformation and also the external transformation. And before I get into it, it's important to understand how the subconscious is affecting your ability to create in life, because it affects your ability to create money, to create the relationships that you desire, to create the physique that you desire. You attract in life to things to affirm the beliefs you have about yourself and the world. So you have all these experiences in your past. All these things have happened. And from these experiences, you start to tell stories about yourself and about how the world works. And this is who you think you are. And you just carry these stories with you throughout all of your life. Let's imagine when you were a little kid, and every time you asked the question, you were told to shut up. Every time you were too loud, you were told to shut up and go away. What kind of story do you think you start telling yourself? Well, I need to be quiet. I need to be careful. I can't be too loud because I will be punished. I don't deserve this. I'm not important. I'm not good enough. And how do you think that story affects your ability to go after what you want in life, to boldly ask for what you want in life? This is the moment when people start saying things like, I feel like something is holding me back, but I don't know what it is. That's the moment when you have set a goal and these stories about yourself, they're not in alignment with your goal. And this starts to create this resistance. It's this imaginary wall that's in front of you. And it limits you in your ability to create in life. So this is how the subconscious affects how you create things in life. For example, your parents, maybe they've failed in business and they tell you how dangerous entrepreneurship is. Or maybe they went through a divorce and your father tells you how horrible women are and how they are only after your money. How do these stories affect you in how you create in life? I used to believe that I was here to save women when it comes to relationships. I had a white knight syndrome. I was there to save them from the traumas and the hardships, and I was there to bring them from the darkness into the light. And if we attract the things to affirm what we believe about ourselves, what kind of women do you think I attracted? The healthy women didn't resonate with me. It was the most damaged and the most toxic women that I attracted because they are the ones that needed to be saved. Only when I realized that the story was running me was the moment I could shift this. And that's why it's so important that you become aware of your subconscious. So let's get into both areas, the internal transformation and the external transformation. Internal as in your identity, the stories and beliefs that you have, and external is your environment, the habits and actions that you take, the skills that you have and are acquiring. And I want to start with the internal part, because reinventing yourself is not a process of becoming. It's a process of unbecoming. Let's imagine you have this huge elastic band around you and you're running forward. You're doing the workouts and meditations. You're saying the affirmations, the journaling. You're doing everything and you're making progress. But it's hard. It requires a lot of willpower. And then there is this time where you slow down or where you stop. And this band just pulls you backwards. You fall into the ground and you're back in the same place where you started. Now let's imagine you start running forward with this band and you realize there's a band. You decide to cut it off, or you decide to take it off you. If you're sprinting with an elastic band and you take it off, you are propelled forward. You go forward at such a rapid pace. And this is the process of unbecoming. Taking off the elastic band is the process of unbecoming. This is taking off and letting go of all these stories about yourself that are holding you back, or stories about how the world works. The process of becoming is trying to acquire all these skills, trying to do all these things. And it's sexy to believe something like that, to believe that the habits and the routines will create a new version of you. But you know that this is not true. That's why even James Clear in the book Atomic Habits, he mentions the importance of identity. This is at the core of transformation. Because otherwise, if you don't change your identity, it's like putting lipstick on a pig. You're saying all these informations of how amazing you are, of how you're the greatest man alive, but at the end of the day, it's still a pig, but with lipstick. You can put all the glitter you want on a piece of shit to make it more beautiful, but it's still a piece of shit. You can build all the muscle that you want, but at the end of the day, you're still a scared little boy. That's the part that you need to look at. When we look at people, successful people, on paper, it looks like an external transformation, but it's actually an internal transformation that happens. The internal transformation, the mindset and the identity comes first, and life just catches up. So you want to become aware of all these stories and let go of them. And maybe when you look at the past, there is an insane amount of evidence there. You see all the situations where, for example, you've been an introvert. But your past doesn't determine your future. When you were born you born as a failure? Were you born as not good enough, or as not important, or whatever story you can imagine? You were not born like that. There is a moment in time where you chose this story. You've chosen the story about yourself to believe it. And you also have the power to stop believing it, to let go of it. And that's the part where you take the band off you. And that's when you go forward at such an insane pace. And the second thing about this that I also want to share is and this also bridges the gap between the internal and the external part. When you have a vision or a dream or a goal that you're after, and you have this calling inside of you, the thing that you want to achieve and that you're here for, to create, is not a question of how do I do this? It's a question of who do I need to be to achieve this goal? The how question is good. It's a powerful question. But the identity question is even more powerful, because I believe whenever you answer that identity question, you automatically get the answers that you're after. And that's the beautiful part of how that works. Also, and I can guarantee you this, the real result that you're after is not the outcome. The real result that you're after is the shift in being that happens in the process. You often hear this, it's not about the goal, but who you become in the process. It's the shift in being. And you can only shift your being when you let go of the stories, but also as in, who do I need to be to achieve this? When I was, and I still am, but when I started training for the one-arm handstand, I used to do 4 workouts a week, 30 minutes of one-arm handstands every single workout. And I thought I was doing some good work there. But when I asked the question of who do I need to be to achieve this goal, that's when the answer came to me. I need to be a Cirque du Soleil performer. You know, those circus performers that really mastered these skills. They are the best of the best when it comes to one-arm handstands, for example. And when that answer popped up in my mind, I could immediately see how I was playing it small. Because these athletes and performers, they work out 6 times a week, 2 hours a day. only focusing on the skill to master it. And that's how I connected with a way to level up. When I connected and aligned myself with that being. Now, when you ask the question as in, who do I need to be? It doesn't have to be realistic, because I'm not going to be, at least I don't know, I think I'm not going to be a circus performer, but it's about the essence that you connect with and that you create from. I was in my community, I was talking to a guy, and he said, I want to be a better coach. That's the topic that I was coaching him on. And that language sometimes, depending on my mood, triggers me. So I asked him, instead of becoming a better coach, what is different and what do you see differently if you would change it into becoming a world-class coach? And he was silent for a moment, and all of a sudden he just sat back and he opened his eyes. He started to smile, he got excited because he tapped into a different possibility out there. The answers were just coming one after the other to him, as in what he could do to not just become a better coach, but to become a world-class coach. He connected to a being, and the answers just came. That's why I think the vision is so powerful. Who do you need to be to realize the goals that you have? And I would even stretch it to the point where discipline becomes easy at this point. Discipline becomes automatic if you align every single thing with your identity. A painter doesn't have to force himself to paint. He paints because he's a painter, similar to a writer, similar to a singer. It's part of your identity, and that's where the actions become automatic. If you align things with your identity, with who you need to be. And a client of mine also calls this effortless discipline. Now, this doesn't have to mean that everything needs to be easy and automatic, because change requires also hardship, intention, effort, focus. It's part of the process. But once you align things with your identity, that's when things become smooth and more automatic. And you will feel this. You will feel this because this is such a powerful part of reinventing yourself. And this also relates to the last part that I wanted to touch upon, which is you need to reaffirm this identity nonstop. This is more focused on the external part. You can have all the answers internally, but if you don't do shit, nothing will happen, nothing will change. If I got the insight from the one-arm handstand about who I need to be and what actions are required to master this move, if I was still doing the 30 minutes parts of handstand, I would stay the same person. You need to reaffirm the identity over and over and over again. And that's often the difficult part, where you're being pulled into your old self. Old stories start popping up again. And you need to remember who you want to be, who you are, and who you want to become. It needs constant reminding and constantly reaffirming who you are. And it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be difficult. This is what makes your movie awesome. You don't want to watch a movie where everything is just going smoothly. It's the hardships that make your story so beautiful. So fall in love with this difficulty, with the hardship, with the change, because it's part of the process. If you connect with that being, even that being wants to experience hardship. It moves towards it. It wants to make more mistakes than other people because this is what is required to shift who you are being. You have to be making more mistakes than other people. So based on these answers, and maybe some answers might be crazy, follow them. These are your calling. And eventually you will reach a point where it doesn't take all this effort anymore to reaffirm that identity because it becomes your new normal. It's who you are. And that's the moment where you start to level up again, where you start to reinvent yourself again to a new level and you go through the whole process. And this is part of personal development, the reinventing yourself over and over and over again. That's why I believe this part is also climbing a mountain without a top. You can do this as much as you want to, because I think this is also one of the most fulfilling journeys there is. Letting go of all these stories that are holding you back and stepping into that new version of you. So I hope this helped. If you liked the video, leave it a like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.